We went to Kiandutu, we recorded the complaint, we were given an OB. On our way back, we went to the police station and we went to her office. We found her there. Hey, there was drama in that office, my friend.
Just give me the OB number of the complaint. No, that is not a threat. When I tell you how I think we can solve the problem, that is not what is called a threat. Where ndio uko na ukali? Who has threatened you?
I don't know if you're comfortable at this point to mention names.
The officer who came in the vehicle and who had given instructions to the breakdown crew to drag the container out of my plot is called what I'm saying. The complaint is about ownership of land. So maybe you can show me.
What do I show you? Come with your documents.
No, just listen to me.
Yes.
Because when there is a complaint, there is a legal way of dealing with the complaint. And you may. I want to see the complainant, I want to see the OB number, and then you can start investigating me.
Me, I'm not investigating.
This is an audio recording from July 18th, 2023, capturing a conversation between James Mungai, a landowner and resident of Thika Town, Kiambu County, and a senior police officer.
A lady came, she has all the documents.
No problem.
To that land.
Yes.
Unasikia?
Yes.
Akasema kuna mtu ameweka container kwa shamba yake.
Yes.
The exchange took place at Thika police station on the same day an attempt was made to evict Mungai's family from their land.
The plot is Thika Municipality, Block 18/11. It is in the environments of Thika Town. Initially, the plot belonged to Athena Coffee Estates Limited. They subdivided and allocated plots to the shareholders. My father was the chairman of Athena Coffee Estates, so he is the one who guided subdivision and allocation. So my father benefited from the plot, and he was allocated and issued with a title deed, a certificate of lease in 1987. We have been in possession of that land till my father passed on in 1991. And upon his death, we filed a succession matter in Thika Chief Magistrate's Court. And it was confirmed and the plot devolved on me. I processed a certificate of lease in my name in 2005, and I have enjoyed quiet possession of that land since then.
The land's history traces back to Athena Coffee Estates Limited, a limited liability company that owned the larger parcel LR number 102261. For decades, the plot was undisputed until July 2023, when a bold claim of ownership dragged Mungai's family into an unexpected battle over what they had long believed was indisputably theirs.
Till his death in 1991, there is no single plot in Athena Coffee Estates which had disputes. So we have never had a dispute in the ownership of this land, not within the family, not with Athena Coffee Estates or any member of the society. Until July 2023, when unknown persons moved into the land and purported to evict me. So the only dispute on record was noted in 2023, July.
I mean, okay, this. Listen to me and listen good.
Okay.
Sisi, you see all these facts? We investigate any matter that is reported.
Correct.
Somebody came and reported ya kwamba plot yake imewekewa nini?
Yes.
Container.
Correct.
Since May.
Correct.
Which May?
May this
May. Just proceed, madam.
Okay.
Mbona unacheka, madam?
Me, I even laughed. They said when they were on the ground that that this container was put after they unbought the land. This container has been here for more than 4 years. So how comes now the container all of a sudden moved away and came back? So she picks up a yellow file from somewhere in one of the cabinets, and she kept on flipping it in the air that these are the owners, the legal owners of that piece of land. So unless you show me your own documents that you own it, then I can only say that you have forcibly put your container there. That is the time James asked her.
Madam, unless you have a personal interest in the matter, you cannot tell me you have sent a breakdown into somebody's plot.
What's happening?
You know, let me tell you.
After a long struggle, and when she shouted more, there are 2 assistants of ours who came to find out what was happening. They actually came and tried to calm us down, but you see, how do you calm down when somebody has been to your plot to come and evict you in broad daylight, you know?
The heated exchange was only a glimpse of a much deeper conflict that had escalated throughout the day. Earlier, their family's property became the center of a commotion when a breakdown truck arrived, apparently tasked with removing a container from the land. Mungai's wife, Flora Wambeti, reached the scene ahead of him and witnessed much more of the day's events unfold.
On that day, which is 18th of July 2023, I left my house and went to Thika. I had a small mission to go and see one of my relatives who lives in Thika town. In fact, she had asked me to go and assist her to harvest some maize from her plot. So in the course of harvesting the maize, I get a call from one person known to me, Simon Wamboi.
Nikamuuliza kama kuna watu wametuma waende hapo kwa container, akaniambia hajatuma mtu. Niambia kuna breakdown na ambayo iko hapo na sijui inafanya nini. So akaniambia anakuja. So before akuje na mimi nikarasha hapo. Napata ni kweli breakdown iko. Breakdown pia hata nikakuja kuona ni mtu najua ni mtu napeanga kazi kunibebea magari. So akanieleza ni kutumwa ametumwa akuja avute hiyo container kidogo ati mwenye plot anataka kujenga. So ikawa ni kitu kingine tena sasa tofauti cause plot najua ni ya Flora na mwalimu Jimmy na tena container ni yao, mimi ndio nilipasua nikaweka hizo milango.
I took a bike and like in 7 minutes I was on site. When I got there on the bike that was taking me to that place, who do I find when I'm just alighting from the bike? The patrol police. They were with their Thika Land Cruiser. And there was another big crowd of people, especially the Bonda people. They had just come, the commotion and now reached somewhere. So there were onlookers. And so somebody from the Land Cruiser actually talked to me and he said, "We know you as the owner of this plot. What's happening here?" So I told the askari, "I'm just arriving now, but I've been told that this breakdown, which you can see here, is here to take away the container." Then the askari asked me, "Kwani wamekoniwa tena, you know?"
The disruption outside their plot wasn't entirely new. Over the years, the container had been at the center of a scheme where unsuspecting buyers were duped into believing it was for sale.
Kuna wakati mwingine ilikuwa imefanyika kitu kama hiyo, watu wakitaka kuiba hiyo container. Trailer ilirara hapo ikiwa na mpango kama hiyo. Baadaye tukaambiwa, but hii ya kuondoa container ati mwenyewe ajenge, mimi kwangu hiyo ilikuwa like a shock.
So even when I got to the piece of plot, I was seeing thieves of a container because why the breakdown? You get? Even him can confirm. I told him kuna watu wanajaribu kuiba container tena. I did not think of the plot.
I left my workplace for Thika. On my way, I called police from Kiandutu police station to go and take charge of the infraction. When I got to the scene, the trespassers were there, and they explained that they had been instructed by senior police officers from Thika police station to get into the plot and drag the container out of the plot.
I was also curious to know who the driver is. So the two of us meet, and I ask him, who are you? Then he goes like, naitwa Kariuki na nimetumwa. Kufanya nini? I've been sent to come and see if this container can be moved and placed on the road. So I asked him, for what? Akasema hapana, mwenye amenituma amesema tu nije nione kama inaweza songeshwa, na kama inaweza songeshwa niisongeshe. And who has sent you? Then he goes like, ni ofisa fulani yuko kwa ofisi, wacha nimpigie simu muongee.
Watu walikuwa wameshusha wenye walikuja. Kwanza wenye wanajua mwalimu container ni yake, alafu wewe unasema nini? Unataka kusema nani amekutuma? So juu ya mtu wa breakdown nilimjua. Nilikaa na yeye nikamwambia wewe usiwe na wasiwasi, hakuna mtu atakuguza. Bora wewe tu mwenye amekuambia uvute, muite akuje.
According to James and Flora Kariuki, the breakdown driver was constantly on the phone, receiving instructions from someone unknown to them. Meanwhile, officers from Kiandutu police station, who James had contacted for help earlier, were already on site. They too eventually received some orders.
Through the breakdown driver's phone, the police on the other side instructed the patrol vehicle to leave the scene, which they did. There were policemen whom I had called from Kiandutu police station. They arrived at the scene, and they too, through the phone belonging to the motor vehicle breakdown crew, they were dismissed from the scene. And given that there was anxiety growing, a white vehicle pulled onto the scene.
A white Volkswagen now comes in, and who is in the Volkswagen? It's a certain lady, mimi simujui. So he comes, and the driver of the breakdown tells her, yule ndiye mama mwenye alisema ndiye mwenye container. So the officer approaches me. He's on phone. Mzee is on phone. He's busy calling. I don't know who. So the madam comes and tells me, I'm Manisi Monene. No, to me, she actually told me I am Mrs. Kenywa.
The officer who came in the vehicle and who had given instructions to the breakdown crew to drag the container out of my plot is called Anisia Warue Munene. At the time, she was the deputy DCIO, Thika West. She dismissed the police, she dismissed members of the public, and instructed me to report to her office. And I obliged, but of course I first reported to Kiandutu police station to have the matter booked because I had called police to the scene. The matter was booked therein, and I proceeded to the officer's office.
Yes. The only person I called regarding that container and the attempted stealing is the police station.
It was not stealing.
But even as an officer, you cannot just intrude into some property just because a complaint has been made and you move it. You cannot.
I only wanted proof of formal investigations that a complaint had been raised and the identity of the complainants. I was also not willing to cooperate much because she could not prove that there was any formal investigation she was conducting regarding me or my plot.
At this point, their container still stood unmoved on their plot, its connection to the power lines deterring any attempts to move it. This small victory, however, did not offer much relief. It was here that they first encountered a shocking revelation. Someone else was now claiming ownership of their land.
A lady came by name Jane Mungai.
Yes.
She has all the documents.
No problem.
To that land.
Yes.
Unasikia?
Yes.
Akasema kuna mtu ameweka container kwa shamba yake.
Yes.
Just that.
From the documentation, there are two owners, two joint owners. Jane Mungai, I don't know her, and Jane Benjamin. They registered a transfer of the land on 9th of February 2023. And the transfer was from Athena Coffee Estates.
This is James Mungai's leasehold title, also known as a certificate of lease. And this is a freehold title listing Jane Mungai and Jane Benjamin as the alleged owners of the same plot. To fully understand the situation, it's important to know the difference between leasehold and freehold.
There is the ownership of land, control of land, access of land, and use of land. So these are the four bundles of rights. Bundle of rights just means the way you can own land. There is the aspect of owning, which can be registered under the freehold system. Freehold is where you just own land forever. When we talk about leaseholds, most leaseholds would provide for access, use, and control. But the ownership has terms and conditions. You will be able to own it for 100 years, 1,000 years, whatever years. The ownership aspect has terms and conditions.
Let's get back to the two titles in question. James's leasehold title means his ownership is limited, bound by time, and is subject to conditions. In contrast, the freehold title held by Jane Mungai and Jane Benjamin grants absolute ownership without any expiration date or obligations. In Kenya, leasehold tenure is limited to a maximum of 99 years, after which the land reverts to the government unless renewed. Freehold land, on the other hand, gives permanent ownership with no time limits. So, the question now is, who really owns this land, and is it under freehold or leasehold tenure? To unravel this puzzle, we need to go back to where it all began. This is a copy of the original transfer form, allegedly from the Ministry of Lands, showing the transfer of Thika Municipality, Block 1811, from the Government of Kenya to Athena Coffee Estates Limited for a term of 99 years, dated 10th August 1986. And this is their certificate of lease under the Registered Land Act. Following the subdivision of part of the Athena Coffee Estates land, Mungai's father, the late Jasan Kagunya, was issued a leasehold title on 15th December 1987, as confirmed by this search certificate. After Jasan's passing and conclusion of the succession case number 70 of 1993, his original title was submitted to the Ministry of Lands to facilitate the issuance of a new title in his son Mungai's name. This is standard practice, as the old title must be surrendered before a new one is issued. Mungai eventually received his leasehold title, as shown here in 2005. Now enter the alleged new owners.
They are alleged to have bought the plot from a deceased person. And they have an agreement, which I've seen, dated 1990. At the time, my father was still alive, and we were in possession of the plot, and we had ownership documents. And this agreement is very suspect if you read it. At one time, the consideration is 300 shillings, At another time, the consideration is 300,000 shillings. Evidently, there are quite a number of errations, and the signatures of the purchasers do not resemble the signatures which you get in the transfer forms.
A sale agreement dated 17th January 1990 lists Jerusha Njoki Gathero as the alleged registered owner and vendor of the parcel, with Jane Wayego and Jane Wanjoe as the purchasers. The document is noted to have been witnessed by John Maina Mwangi and prepared by SP Punja Advocates. Accompanying it is a land transfer document dated 9th February 2023, allegedly signed by James Mungai Foro, the Secretary of Athena Coffee Estate, along with two other directors, Stephen Goren Njoroge and Joseph Karobo Getao. The document was reportedly submitted to the Thika Land Registry, where the then Land Registrar Joseph Wangombe Kamoyo is said to have issued a freehold title deed to Jane Wanjoe and Jane Waroe.
For them to issue the title deed to me, I forwarded the succession documents so as to register a transfer by transmission from my father into my names. I have gotten copies of the booking register, which proves that they received the documents from me and consequently issued me with a title. But they don't have the records. They don't have the documents which I took to their office, which they received, against which they issued me with a title. The other party has a title deed, a freehold title deed. Although in that area all the plots are under leasehold tenure, but they have a title deed issued in 2023, February 2023, issued by the Thika Land Registry, and they are the first owners. But this is a land which has been existent from 1986, because that is when the land was transferred to the government for allocation by Athena Coffee Estates. But according to the records in the Thika Land Registry, the land was registered for the first time in 2023. Athena Coffee Estates used to be a vibrant company, but has disposed all its assets, and for 5 years it has been dormant. But there is one director who continues to transact on behalf of the company, and signatures of the other 2 surviving directors were used. Further, I discovered that they had changed my rate-paying account at the Kiambu County Government Office to the names of the new owners.
A handwritten statement dated December 2023, purportedly from Stephen Goren Njoroge, one of Athena's surviving directors, denies any involvement in the disputed land transfer. He writes, and I quote, "I have never transferred any land on behalf of Athena. I have never been to Camero Advocates, and I have never been involved in the transfer of the land Thika Municipality Block 1811. Though the picture on the transfer is mine, I don't even know where the land is." End of quote. Similarly, a January 2024 statement attributed to Joseph Karobo Getao, another surviving director, claims, and I quote, "The signature belongs to me, but I didn't transfer the land to those ladies appearing on the form. I used to sign blank transfer forms and leave them with the secretary, James Mungai. Even the chairman signed, but I am sure he also didn't transfer to those ladies." End of quote. The chairman he refers to is Stephen Gore, who led Athena following Jasan's death until 2017, as acknowledged in his own statement.
It is also confirmed that when they were transferring my rate-paying account at the Kiambu County Office, they used forged documents which have been disowned by the lawyers who allegedly attested to the documents. And it would be interesting to look at an affidavit which was allegedly sworn, and you would not even understand the role of the affidavit in the transfer, because it is ambiguous and you would not even know why it was being sworn by the purported owners, yet it was meant to be sworn by the previous owner.
The affidavit allegedly commissioned by advocate J.M. Ndongo is also called into question. In a handwritten statement attributed to him, Mwaura strongly denies any involvement, stating, and I quote, "The signature on the affidavit is not mine. The stamp obviously was stolen from my office and used without my authority. The affidavit is a forgery and I don't know Jane Wayego Mungai and Jane Wanjoe Benjamin." End of quote. A forensic analysis conducted by Eli John Mwangi, a Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI examiner, compared Mwaura's verified signature with the one on the affidavit. The results were clear. The signatures didn't match, indicating they were made by different individuals, indicating a possible case of forgery. In a similar twist, transfer forms allegedly signed by John Mungai Foro and two other directors were disowned by R.N. Kamiro advocates. A statement attributed to Kamiro states, and I quote, "I deny the transfer was executed in my office. I also deny the stamp used was done by me and I disown the document entirely." End of quote. A subsequent forensic report by DCI examiner I.P. Gideon Osundwa reveals that Kamiro's signature on the forms differs from his verified samples, further supporting forgery claims.
In making that transfer too, they made the application and stated the previous owner as my father. They too paid outstanding rates in the name of my father, a man who died in 1991, and this is 2023. We did follow up. It was an arduous task actually getting feedback from the county government, but after quite some effort, there was a discrepancy between the physical records held at the county registry, which indicated my father is the last registered account holder with the county government. In their digital records, in their system, the owners were the new owners. And the county government could not explain how the strange names got into the system.
A letter from the Kiambu Sub-County Administrator dated 13th February 2024 affirms James Mungai's ownership of the Thika plot based on the 1993 grant of representation for the estate of his late father. The letter also raises concerns over unauthorized changes in account names related to the plot, urging investigations into the matter.
Every other day, even if you have a title, it's not absolute. I normally tell people your land title is not absolute as long as corrupt officials are watching over the documents, wherever they are watching over the documents at. There is need for the law to be followed, both the spirit and the letter. When you talk about land grabs, there are so many questions that we need to address as Kenyans, collaboratively, both state and non-state actors, to curb that vice. It's everywhere. When someone is talking about title deeds, walking away, in quotes, I'll just do direct translation from Swahili. Zilitembea zikatoka kwa registry. Because no one has been, no head has rolled, no one has taken accountability, and it is facilitated and abated by, at times, state officials, by at times, custodians of culture, by at times, us ourselves, when we don't appreciate that every entitlement has a duty and obligation.
How can documentation, a whole file, which has been lying there since 1986, how can it just now, today, disappear and it is not there?
Official documents are meant to tell a story of legitimacy. However, behind closed doors, the reality is far more sinister. What should be standard procedures are instead becoming opportunities for manipulation, purposefully designed to undermine and frustrate legitimate claims. In this case, hidden within the paperwork lies a network of individuals, each with a role that remains clouded in mystery. The question is, How deep does this web run, and who is ultimately reaping the rewards? The discrepancies in this case are extensive, ranging from differences in manual and digital county records to forged signatures, stolen stamps and transfer forms disowned by those allegedly involved. Every detail pointing to a system open to abuse. For James and Flora, this fight is more than just reclaiming their land. It's about exposing how their family's property became entangled in what seems to be a much bigger game of fraud and deception.
There are officers in the Land Registry, there are officers in the security department, and there are officers in the county government office, and each has a role. The registry staff, the Land Registry staff, identify plots which have issues. Either the owners are dead, or they have lost title deeds, or possibly there is some dispute, or the owners are long dead and the properties are not claimed, and there are no known administrators to the land. After identification, they are also in charge of vetting the documents and corrupting the documents, either losing the documents of previous owners and creating new files and creating new registers for the land. And as they create new registers, they simply bring in new owners. With the new title deeds registered by the Land Registry Department, the new owners proceed to the county government, where conspirators are in waiting, and with only a bunch of money, the reaping accounts are changed. Within a day, it happens. And mostly, these people are calculating, because possession is also very important. Like in my case, after either destroying my land records in the Thika Land Registry or hiding them and opening new registers, and then proceeding to the county government and managing the transfer of the rate-paying account, the only problem was entry into the land. And this is where the security department comes in handy. In my particular case, it is the DCIO.
Mungai paints a picture of what he believes is a land-grabbing operation, with his land at the center of it all. Drawing from his personal experience, we piece together how the events appear to have taken shape in his case. It all begins with the Land Registry. On 9th February 2023, transfer forms and a 1990 sale agreement are presented for an alleged transaction between Athena Coffee Estates, Jane Wanjoe and Jane Wayego. Through an undated letter, the Secretary of Athena Coffee Estates, James Mungai, informs the land registrar that he is unable to obtain a search certificate for the plot and that the green card is missing from the registry. He requests that a new green card be opened to allow the land to be used by Athena Coffee Estates for the benefit of its members. Despite the irregularities we've outlined so far, a first registration is entered and a freehold title deed is issued to the two as the new owners. At the time, Joseph Wangombe Kamoyo was the land registrar, now believed to be working at the Chief Land Registrar's office in Adi House. According to Mungai, in mid-February, someone named Francis Njogona allegedly approached his caretaker seeking to rent the plot and container for business, but Njogona's request was declined. Later, a statement dated 13th September 2024 revealed that Jerusha Njoki Gatheru, the alleged owner and vendor of the land, had passed away on March 28, 2013, according to her brother Simon Maina Gatheru and the local chief. Jerusha is also said to be the elder sister of Jane Wayego, one of the land purchasers. It is claimed Jerusha owned a plot in Waitethia, Thika, and after her death, her son Njuguna took control of her property. Could the Francis Njuguna who allegedly approached Mungai's caretaker be the same Njuguna identified as Jerusha's son? We could not independently verify the information as only the name Njuguna is mentioned in Simon's statements, making it unclear whether they are indeed the same individual. On 16th May 2023, an affidavit reportedly sworn by Jane Wayego and Jane Wanjoe claims ownership of the plot and requests the parcel's transfer at the Thika sub-county offices. On the same day, a document attributed to the county government of Kiambu acknowledges Mungai's father, Jasan Kagunya, as the registered owner in the county's rating system. However, it simultaneously lists Jane Wayego and Jane Wanjoe as the new registered owners. 2 months later, on 18th July 2023, Anisia Waroe Munene, the then Deputy DCIO of Thika West, dispatched a breakdown vehicle to remove the container from Mungai's plot. Anisia is now reported to have been transferred to the Immigration Department in Nairobi, where she currently serves.
Yes, you are. Because
Please substantiate the threats. Oh, thank you. So you withdraw that.
I withdrew.
Thank you.
Emotions ran high, words were exchanged, and yet they couldn't find a solution. Undeterred, Mungai decided to dig deeper, only to uncover even more shocking revelations.
So the meeting ended in Dizari, and I only gave her my telephone number, and I asked her to call me when she got an OB of the complaint that she was investigating, and or a court order that she had, which she never did. And I left the office. The following day, I did my own investigations. I called her boss, the then DCIO Thika, Mr. Joseph Dufi, and I asked him why he had sent officers to my plot to evict me. And he said that there was no complaint raised about me or about my plot of land. And he was really surprised that whatever I was describing could have happened. I further called the OCS, Thika police station, Mr. James Mungai, and he said that he was not aware of any investigations being done regarding me. And in any case, that is not how investigations were done.
The events surrounding this case raise serious questions about the role of law enforcement in land disputes. Anisia Munene, a senior police officer, was at the center of this meeting, yet her involvement was not known to her superiors and was not on record anywhere. If there was no official complaint, no court order and no OB number, what exactly was her role in all of this? Was she acting on orders from higher authorities, influenced by external forces, or was this the decision made independently by her? Why were other senior officers, including the DCIO and the OCS, seemingly unaware of any investigations tied to Mungai's property? These inconsistencies point to a troubling possibility. This may not have been an isolated incident, but part of a larger, more orchestrated scheme.
Land grabs is a colonial legacy. If you look at the current administration, I dare say the aspect of Chapter 6, it's a strange notion. No one is talking about that so-and-so was caught stealing so-and-so's land, so now they're being held accountable. One of our principles in Article 60 in land governance is transparency and accountability. No one is talking about Article 60 and the principles of land governance. Instead, there is this feeling like whatever you can get away with, please do, because no one is going to ask you about it.
In a system where justice seems to falter, where the rules do not seem to apply for the powerful, but are fully exercised against the vulnerable, what hope remains for those at the margins? When those entrusted to protect become silent witnesses or even accomplices, what choices do ordinary citizens have?
I have access to the property. I'm still in possession of the property. I still have documents to the property, which means I can access my container in the property, and it is in my possession. Only that I have an ownership document which is not backed by records in the lands office, which means I cannot transact on that land.
How does that happen? How do you have a title deed and there are no records to show that this is your property?
The Land Registry should explain, not me. They are the ones who issued the title deed to me. The value of my plot is about 20 million shillings. This is my inheritance from my father, and I am sure you would reasonably not expect me to let go of my inheritance. That is my retirement. I'm old, and as I complete my service as a teacher, I want to use my plot to retire, possibly make a good investment.
No, I am hurt. I'm hurting even as I speak. It hurts. It hurts because you are the rightful person to use, to access, to do whatever you want to do with your things. But now here we are. Hiyo shamba imewekewa caveat. Ameweka moja, serikali imeweka ingine. Even if somebody came today, he's valuing it at 20 million. If somebody came today and said he's giving you that you can do nothing.
This is the crushing reality of broken systems, a devastating mix of emotional torment, financial strain, and the suffocating weight of powerlessness. For families like Mungai's, the fight to resist isn't just about defending their land. It is a harrowing test of how long they can hold out against a system seemingly designed to exhaust and silence them. But what is the true cost of such corruption? It's more than stolen land or lost files. It's lives disrupted, dreams shattered, and trust betrayed. It's a normalization of impunity and greed, slowly eroding the very foundations that hold our society together.
I made effort to proceed to DCI, Nairobi. I wrote a letter summarizing my complaints. Number one, trespass and illegal eviction, specifically by the police officer. And secondly, alleged fraud in the land. The first complaint has never been investigated to this day. Of course, therefore, what do you expect me to say? It is simply the system supervising misconduct of the officer, if not abetting. I further proceeded to a department which I have always held in high regard, and I'm sure most Kenyans hold it in very high regard. The Internal Affairs Unit that would actually investigate the officer for misconduct. And this is 9 months down the line, and we've not moved an inch. In an interesting twist, one of my witnesses, a brother who works in Mombasa, could not travel to Nairobi and had to record a statement from Mombasa, which was recorded and was simply meant to be sent to Nairobi. But in a very interesting twist, indeed a very deliberate mix-up, they purported that he was filing a new complaint on my behalf, and they purported to have referred his complaint back to DCI. Why? Because DCI will not investigate. Because I can say they have not investigated. I wrote to them a complaint letter. They referred my complaint to the Thika office, but the first and initial complaint, trespass and illegal eviction by Anisia Munene, has never been investigated.
Justice is not limited to the law. It's about fairness, accountability, and the courage to demand better. If we've learned anything from the Mungai family story, it's that the systems we think are impartial can be turned against us for a price. Their fight goes on, but for how long?
It is important also for the society to know that what lies ahead is difficult. When they need to get information from government offices, it may not be forthcoming. When they need assistance from the police, it may not be forthcoming. And therefore, they need to know.
After multiple attempts to reach Anisia Waroe Munene, we were finally able to speak to her via telephone on 4th April 2025 regarding her involvement in Mungai's case. We have been following up on a certain story involving a plot in Thika, Thika Municipality Block 1811. Yes, so we spoke to this family and they mentioned that you had been looking into that particular plot based on a complaint that you had received while you were the Deputy DCIO Thika. Yes, so I just wanted to hear from you, about this particular complaint and if you managed to get any information based on your investigations.
I know you.
Sorry?
I know you from Thika, senior.
No, I'm not from Thika.
You might not be from Thika.
Yes.
But I know you mean what you do there. Kindly, can you come to the office one of these fine days? I tell you what happened.
Are you still based in Thika? Are you still the Deputy DCIO?
No.
We may not need to meet physically. I just wanted to know about your response because they mentioned
it's a long
that.
Story. Yeah, one cannot talk over the phone just like that. It's good to we speak.
But
I tell you what happened.
I think I would like for you to just give me a bit of context so that even if we plan to meet, then I can see how to go about it.
Let me finish what I'm doing.
Okay, so when do I call you back?
Maybe after 1 hour.
Okay, no problem.
Sasa manda wacha nikwambia. Mimi sitaki kuongea hii maneno. Maneno iko kotini. Maneno iko kwa GPP. Nisumbua maisha yangu sana. I handed over case to Michuki, ulisa Michuki aliendelea namna gani?
Okay. Michuki is the investigating officer.
It is there. If you want to know anything about mambo ya police, kindly ask him.
Okay, but can I ask, as for your involvement, would you want to say anything in terms of...
No, not right now, not now, mommy, kindly.
You know why I was calling you? Is because unajua ukiongelesha mtu na aseme huyu na huyu amefanya hivi, it is important for me to also nikusikize hear your side of the story. So that's why it's very important for me.
Maneno iko kotini, my dear. Nisisikiangi kuongea hiyo maneno.
Nataka kujua at least one question in terms of the eviction. Wakisema you wanted to remove your container, it felt for them like an attempted forceful eviction and that they had not been informed.
Wewe kuna eviction unaona ilifanywa hapo?
No, I've said
the container is still there. Everything is intact. Sasa mimi I don't feel like talking.
So we also reached out by phone and via text messages to Joseph Kamoyo, who was the land registrar in Thika at the time the contested title was issued, seeking clarification on how the land transitioned from leasehold to freehold and the process behind the alleged transfer. However, he did not respond. We contacted the police spokesperson, the Internal Affairs Unit and IPOA, following up on James Mungai's former complaints and seeking clarification on the allegations of police misconduct. At the time of publication, only IPOA had responded, acknowledging our letter requesting further information despite already having received a detailed complaint from Mr. Mungai. We shared the requested case references and asked for an official response to our specific queries. Neither the police spokesperson nor the Internal Affairs Unit had responded to our inquiries by the time this documentary was published. In the next episode,
watu wa Islands.
Nairobi's old estates are turning into a battlefield.
The county government of Nairobi have the titles for Ofafa Jericho, Jericho Lumumba, Ofafa Maringo, and Maringo or not.
Nani walikaa chini wakasema ianze Jericho?
Tuliahidiwa ya kwamba baada ya miaka 25 hizi nyumba zitakuwa zetu.
Hakukuwa na title deed, isipokuwa ni hicho kijikitabu ambacho kilikuwa na maelezo kwa upande wa nyuma.
As plans to demolish these estates gather momentum, who really wins, who loses, and what is the true cost of redevelopment?
There are a lot of challenges. Key amongst them is a total lack of transparency. Yani ukora ni mingi sana hii Nairobi.